Hi, my friends. Thanks for joining us today in our journey through the Bible, one day at a time. Our scripture for today is in Ecclesiastes, chapters 1 to 4, starting a whole new book in the Bible, also written by King Solomon, like Proverbs was. He wrote three books in the Bible. As a younger man, he wrote the story of Song of Solomon. A great love story has to do with a young girl, Shulamith, who grew up in the country and, for the most part, spent her days working on the family farm. And surprised everyone when they discovered that her fiance, the man she'd been talking about, turned out to be Solomon, of all people. And it's the story of their courtship and their early marriage and the love that they had for each other. But it's also meant to illustrate the story of Christ in the church and the love that exists in that relationship that Christ has for his people. It always amazes me when I read that, and I think that Christ thinks that about his church, about me, but it's true. And Proverbs was probably written as a middle-aged man. Hezekiah wrote some Proverbs and a couple other possibilities for some chapters, but for the most part, it's Solomon's work. He'd written Proverbs, he collected Proverbs, and he was a man of great wisdom. When God asked him as a young man, "You can have anything that you want," that's the one thing he asked for. God, give me the wisdom I need to be a good king. And he started out faithful to the Lord. He built the Lord's temple, and he became wealthy, grew wise. But his story did not end well. Ecclesiastes is not a happy book. I don't know of anybody who says, Ecclesiastes is my favorite book in the Bible because it's such a sad story. When you think of how he started and what he had, faithfulness to the Lord was on his side and was answering his prayers. He and Shulamith could have built a life together, made the palace a happy place. He could have stayed true to the Lord and in his old age be writing about the joy of the Lord and how great it is to know him. And instead, he has to write uh, a book full of regrets. He writes someone who lives under the sun. That means as if God is not even there. God is always there, but under the sun means you live as if he's not. And of course, the result is vanity of vanity. All is vanity. That means worthless, nothingness. His whole life, his riches, his works project, his magnificent temple, it all came to nothing at the end of the day because he knew he was going to die pretty soon. It's very sad. We're told in 1 Kings 11, 4 to 7, came to pass when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father. Of course, his marriage, I think that grew cold after he began to marry hundreds of wives and concubines. It seems like he must have been having a wedding every other week to marry that many wives over the years. And they turned his heart away from the Lord, and he began to worship other gods. And uh, and the result is we end up with this sad story in Ecclesiastes. And we're going to look at just a couple of verses in chapter 1, um, verses 9 and 10. Today, the thing that hath been done, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, See, this is new? It hath already been of old time, which was before us. People don't believe that today, but it's true. It's right there in the Bible. When my son was studying youth ministry in college, he was told that culture changes about every 3 years, and so church leaders need to constantly be changing to keep up. And the result is church leaders who are always searching for ideas that are new, music that's new, preaching that's new. But is there anything that's really new? Our text says there isn't. Our vice president says that she wants to be unburdened by the past. But can she really do that? Our text says there's no new thing under the sun. And the human race just keeps recycling the same old ideas again and again, repackages them. They may have different terminology, but it's the same thing that has taken place in the past. I realize there's something exciting about saying everyone else who ever lived got it wrong, but I've got it right finally. This is new and it's all mine. In so many ways, we're like the Athenians that the Apostle Paul found, who have spent all their time and nothing else but to hear some new thing, and yet there is nothing new, is there? Well, what do you do in a case like that? When we live in a world where everything has already been said or done before, and we just recycle it, repackages it. I'll tell you what, we get better. We learn more. We hone our skills. We serve others more efficiently. We get better at serving the Lord. And that's the key to a happy life. It's not that we come up with something new nobody ever thought of. It's just that we get better. We become better people, better servants. Well, meditate on that today, will you? As we think about the world we live in and what Solomon has to say about it today. And stay in the Word, keep at it. Our reading for today is in Ecclesiastes chapter 5 to chapter 8. And so be reading there, and I'll be back with you again very soon. Have a great day, folks.